Hey, this is Giang, and you're listening to the Emmy Wealth Builder podcast, where we celebrate incredible immigrant success stories, share proven strategies, and give you actionable steps to build your wealth, freedom, and a lasting legacy. Let's go get it. Today, we have Michelle and Minhdoan Ngo, an amazing husband and wife team who left their corporate careers to build a purpose-driven real estate and wellness retreat business. They are passionate, inspiring, and they are proof that you can create both wealth and impact. I'm super excited for you guys to hear their stories. Michelle and Minhdoan, tell me the evolution that you guys have gone through. Tell our audience a little bit more about that journey you guys been on. Yeah, let's take that from there.
Yeah, I had a career in Silicon Valley and I worked at some pretty well-known tech companies, Hitachi, Oracle, Workday, and kind of climbed the corporate ladder. And it got to a point as I was nearing the age of 30 that I started to dig deep about why I was doing these things. Like, why are we achieving our career goals, getting a house, family planning, traveling all the time, nice cars, more nicer things, and it still felt empty. And we were like, why are we doing all this? So as we started to think about what our life purpose was, we realized that we were missing a component, which was number one, purpose, and number two, service. So we started to dig deep on what that looked like if we were more heart-centered with our line of work, and then started to kind of share our personal stories around our family. They're dealing with mental health. So my mom was diagnosed with schizophrenia when I was 5, and it's something that just really shaped my worldview. A lot of challenges came from that experience. And as we started to volunteer in the mental health space, I just realized there's so many other people that also need help and support the way my family did. And we just didn't know how to get that help. So that really started our journey of kind of thinking about how we wanted to spend our time. And then I'll let you talk about finding purpose and how we discovered the business.
Yeah, so it was like 8 years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago. Like Michelle said, we were both working corporate. I was working for a major gas operator in California. And at the time, both of our purposes it wasn't really much of a purpose. It was more like, how can we climb the ladder as quick as possible? But we both experienced that plateau effect and just asking ourselves, what's next? And it wasn't until we had this night, there was some drinking involved, but Michelle and I ended up just going deep. We ended up talking a lot about, like, why are we here? What's our purpose? And we started to think about our family and the things that were important to us, but also the things that were very challenging for us. And like Michelle mentioned, her family having mental health challenges. So that's when we told ourselves that we wanted to build a business that included having a wellness retreat, like having some sort of a retreat space that allowed people to hold space for each other, to really get vulnerable and deep, and to really allow ourselves to truly express. And then the next question was, how are we going to do that? Right? Because we needed a lot of money, we needed a lot of equity, we needed a lot of time. We wanted to build it in Hawaii. So there was a lot of things that were like in our vision, but we just didn't really understand how. At the same time, though, we have family members and we were a little bit educated on real estate and what that might look like for us. Michelle's family more so than myself. I had no idea how it worked. So I went through a lot of education, books, podcasts, and then started to realize the opportunity there. So we was able to, over time, jump in with both feet with Michelle to eventually build up more equity. And I think it was about 7 years later, we ended up opening the wellness retreat here in Hawaii.
Wow, I love hearing that, and I can relate so much, and I think a lot of our audience probably relate so much to what you guys was saying. As an immigrant, the formula that I was following was to go get a good degree, to go get a good job, to go find a good paying job, a stable job, climb the ladder, and then the formula seemed to just stop there. Like somehow we make it once we have this fancy job that's paying well. And I found myself actually last year in what Michelle was describing, just this question of what's next? What is all this for, right? What we're all here for, and what impact are we really making with what ability we have? So I love hearing how you guys discover that and how you guys was curious, right? Just asking these questions, just asking what's next, how do I figure it out? And I love that you guys was resourceful, was asking these questions, leaning on family. And I hear a lot of family in what you guys said. That was the center driving where you guys are at now. Tell me a little bit more about this retreat space, about how that was maybe a passion project turning now more into a business. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So it was not clear in the beginning of our journey that we would end up with a wellness retreat. We just knew that we somehow wanted to create a business to help people with their well-being, their mental health, for healing. The end goal is to just help people have transformative experiences. So fast forward, as we went along our real estate journey, we flipped houses, we got into multifamily, we got into Airbnbs, into syndications, and we started to realize that we really enjoyed being in the hospitality space. We really enjoyed creating experiences. I personally love design. It's one of my favorite things about real estate. I actually did a bunch of exercises to kind of dig deep on what would be this purposeful business that we built. So it didn't happen overnight, but one exercise that was very impactful for us is the Ikigai exercise. So it is the Japanese formula for creating a life purpose. You look at 4 different things in this circle. Number 1, what you're good at. Number 2, what you can help the world with. Number 3, how you can make money doing it. And number 4, what do you enjoy doing? And a combination of those 4 things is your life purpose. And so as I started to fill in all the circles in this exercise, I arrived at wellness retreat. And it started with me just going to wellness retreats, attending them myself, and having very transformative experiences. Both of us went to a lot of wellness retreats. We became wellness retreat junkies.
That's a great thing to be a junkie for.
Yeah. And every time we left, we were like, wow, we're different people. We're so invigorated. We met so many incredible people at these wellness retreats. And something a friend of mine told me that really stuck with me is when you meet someone for a few hours, they're an acquaintance. When you spend over 90 hours with someone, they become family. And that's really how I felt at all of these retreats, staying overnight, getting to know people on a much deeper level, undistracted. We're not working, we're not on our phones, we're talking to each other, we're really opening up, we're healing, we're creating community. So powerful in this day and age where we're just so disconnected physically from each other. And I started to realize that's the impact that I want to make, creating immersive experiences, especially for people that feel like they're just trapped in their day-to-day. They don't know how to get out. They're in this hamster wheel. Some people call it the rat race. And they're surrounded by people that are not conducive for their well-being. So when they come to a space and the space allows them to expand, to vision, to dream, to connect, to just fully focus on themselves and their healing, there's so much magic that happens.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
And one thing I really want to just pull it out for our audience is what you said, your journey didn't happen overnight. But what I hear in what you're saying is that you were always taking action. You were in fix and flip, you were in Airbnb, you were in multifamily, you were trying out these things, and that's when you actually discover what is it that you really like about what you were doing. But the whole time you were taking action, it may be zigzagging, and all of these actually now still helping you, but you're still moving forward towards what it is that you want to do. So I really want to pull that out, that you never stop, and that's not the way that things work, right? You cannot get to where you go if you just stop and trying to figure it out and being analysis paralysis. Always taking action, that was very important. Tell me a little bit more about, I know you guys are now working together, doing this business together. Has that always been the case? Kind of tell me more about how this relationship turned to partnership come about.
Good question. Definitely not always the case, right? Back in the day, before we invested and became business partners together, we both had our corporate jobs, right? And it was more like as soon as I left the office and stepped into the house, it was a completely different version of me. And she never really saw the work side of me. It was really interesting because it was like I had one mask on in the office And then I took that mask off and I was a completely different person when I got home. But when we decided to do this together, that's where we started to realize how we worked and how we functioned. And there was absolutely some tension there because we are both alphas in our own ways. So really just like trying to understand, like we both want to move, but we got to make sure we're moving in the same direction. And after many dozens of trial and error, we realized that where we both kind of fell into is Michelle is very good at being a visionary and really coming up with the future state, right? The ideal state, and having us live into that vision. Whereas for me, I am more the operational guy. So just understanding, okay, now that I have the vision, how can we get there? What can we do? What kind of systems do we need to put in place so that we can continue to grow and scale and then also be able to step away? So putting those two together in the beginning, had no idea. It's just kind of like, let's just figure it out. Sometimes we stepped on each other's toes, but now it's more like we're very much in sync there as far as roles and responsibilities.
That makes so much sense. Something that came up for me as you guys was describing it, Steve Jobs has a quote that you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backward. Like in that period of time that you guys are butt heading, it probably feels like, why is this happening? Like, why is it that we can't work together? Something is wrong. Versus now, when you guys looking back, all of those was important and crucial for you guys to lead to where you guys are now, for you guys to understand what are the strengths, what is it that you guys are good at. And from a business perspective, an integrator with a visionary, that's like a perfect fit. But I can understand that when you guys working together, there's a lot of like, no, but we need to do this right now versus like, no, but we can do this in the future. So there's a lot of that I'm sure is happening. I work with my boyfriend too, and we're actually also dance partner. So I relate a lot with what you guys are working on. Separate out the relationship with the business partnership, and for us, the dance partnership, there's a lot of different hats and things that we're working on for sure. Tell me a little bit more about the business retreat. Tell me a little bit more about the journey from that as an idea to now actually like hosting your first wellness retreat.
So it was one of the more challenging things that we've done. But I think looking back at anytime we've started a new business, it's been really, really challenging. And anytime you start something new, you don't really know what you're doing. There's a lot of unexpected things that happen and also unexpected costs. It was very similar. When we moved to Hawaii, I was very optimistic. I said, oh, we'll find a property. And I was kind of comparing it to us finding a flip property, like put a bunch of offers out, we'll find a property. Well, we didn't find one that matched all the things on my checklist and our budget for 14 months. So we were living out in Hawaii, paying rent, and we just felt like, wow, we're just burning all this time and paying rent, which is something that is uncomfortable for us. We haven't paid rent for a long time, but we kept thinking that we were going to find the wellness retreat a lot sooner than 14 months. So finally, when we found this perfect place, came here and I asked the land for permission. So energetically, I just felt, yes, this is right. Acquired the property, raised a bunch of capital, private lending for the rehab, got some partners on board, and started doing the renovation. The renovation happened all throughout my pregnancy.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was like a two-part thing. I was pregnant the whole time. We were trying to renovate the space and live on property. It was absolutely wild. We completed a full gut renovation on 2 properties on this 2.25 acre land. And it took us about 7 months. So it was really fast. Sometimes we'd have like 15 crew members here on property. There was always something going on. Sometimes we didn't have water, electrical. It was really hard being a pregnant person trying to navigate all that. But yeah, we made it happen. I think we were just really focused on the end goal, the vision, the impact that we're able to make, the fact that we're living out this dream that we had set out for ourselves. So fast forward, we are done and we're starting to market. And I remember looking around at our first retreat and just thinking, wow, my dream came true. My vision came true. And it was really incredible, actually, because about 3 years prior to opening the retreat, I wrote a vivid vision. It's a book by Cameron Herold. I wrote a very detailed, vivid vision about how I wanted to host wellness retreats, what it would look like, what the property would look like. I wrote it all down and I kind of just set it aside. So right before that retreat, I pull up my vivid vision and most of it came true. And it's really incredible the power of creating a very detailed vision and it just kind of bakes in you to your subconscious and you just make it happen. So I'm a huge proponent of everybody writing out their vision. But when I was in our first retreat and just that moment of just seeing everyone enjoying the space, seeing the tears, the laughter, the hugs, everything, it just made it so worthwhile. All the things that we went through.
Wow, I love hearing that. And that is wild, Michelle, that you're pregnant and renovating this whole thing. I really love hearing that tenacity, the resilience, the faith, and the belief in that vision, that dream that you have. And I'm sure that was really pulling you towards during the hardest time that you guys gone through. And it's very interesting. You guys essentially have like a real estate piece and a business piece all in one. So tell me a bit more about that business piece of now actually building out this wellness retreat from scratch, marketing, structuring it, running it, the prep works that prepare you guys for all of that business building piece. And then describe me a bit more about what your wellness retreat looks like.
A lot of learning lessons.
A lot.
So I think I came in with a rosy picture because I only had experience with Airbnb. So I was approaching it as if it was an Airbnb. People come and they rent the space and then they enjoy and have activities. I came to realize that it was really different from running Airbnb. The component of it being a wellness retreat and just an immersive experience means that they're expecting kind of that really ultimate customer service aspect that my Airbnbs don't really have. They have self check-in, we do messaging, we check in periodically through Airbnb messaging, but it isn't like I'm physically there opening the door and welcoming them in, right?
Yeah.
And cool towels
Yes.
and tea.
So it became really different because it was important for me that people really immersive, wonderful experience, right? People felt like they were pampered, they were held, they were seen. That was a huge component of the outcome of healing that I was looking for. So, there was so much prep work before retreat, during retreat, after retreat, the food, the activities, going to the beach, we did like lei making. We had yoga teachers, sound healers, breath work, cold and hot plunges, like all these different things as part of the amenities of the retreat. When people arrive, we welcome them with a chill eucalyptus towel. We do a lei greeting. We take their luggage to their rooms. And so there's like so much. And then at night one, we do a presentation on the vision of the property and the history of Lotus Rising. Very, very involved, right? From day one. And each retreat is 3 to 4 nights long. So we're pretty much morning to evening, starting with making coffee, prepping the foods, all the way to the end. We have support staff. We hire people to help us. But still, it's very, very involved in order to create that immersive experience. We learn over time that human capital is very, very important in this type of business, and not realizing that there wasn't too much technology that we could really rely on when it came to something that's so intimate. And so we try to find a good balance, right? Like, how much can we personally do? At one point, to be honest, we started to get really burnt out. We had our newborn. We were trying to host all the retreats, trying to do all the marketing, everything.
Which we timed her napping, by the way. Yes. The nap right before this recording.
Yeah, we had to put her down.
It's perfect time.
So we're juggling a lot. And I realized that I never even took maternity leave. It's something that reflecting on the journey is, I'm a huge proponent of mental health. I'm a proponent of self-care. And yet I got to a point where I got really burnt out. So I had to take a step back and reflect like, okay, this is not sustainable. We need to find a different way. So we started to hire more people and really focus on the systems. Every single time, we probably cut the prep work by 50% every time we had another retreat. which is incredible to think about.
Yeah.
So the first retreat, I think I was like a vegetable afterwards. Like I couldn't do anything for like a week. I was just so burnt out from all the things that came up, like the toilet and this and that. And fast forward, we've been hosting retreats for almost a year or something now. What's incredible is that every retreat we've been super intentional about building systems. The pre-retreat checklist, the during retreat checklist, the post-retreat checklist, all the check-ins, the emails and everything. And that has really streamlined our time, made things so much easier. But it takes time. It didn't happen overnight, just like all the other businesses, right? It took us maybe a year or something to really get to a point where we could say like, hey, I think we can actually go to dinner while people are using our space. We don't have to physically be here anymore, but it took a while for us to get.
I appreciate you guys sharing that. That's the real authenticity of running a business. It comes with a lot of experimenting, right? Seeing what works, what doesn't. And that's really impressive that every time you guys run a wellness retreat, you guys work on improving the system. So you guys can go out to dinner while somebody is in the space. And pro parenting tip with business owner tip, spacing out your nap time and timing your kids' nap time with your business so you can run both at the same time. That is some real talk. That is some real business ownership while also parenting. I love that. And it's very interesting because what you said about how the wellness retreat is very different from the Airbnb. The goal there is opposite from it. The goal there is that human interaction. I'm sure you guys are giving a lot of energy, giving a lot of that during the wellness retreat. So definitely also there's a lot of, not just as a business owner, but also as healers during that space for your guests. I'm sure it is also taxing on your energy. As much as it is a passion, you guys probably have to protect a lot of your energy during that time as well. Other thing too, as people consider running a business, to point out is that different business can be more like a wellness retreat, which is more human capital taxing. A lot of these things cannot be tech replaced. You can definitely put in system and process to help streamline it, but the human component is crucial. Versus probably a lot of things like, let's say, a digital marketing business, that would probably be a lot less, more tech savvy and a bit less human capital. So just something to think about as listeners thinking about starting a business, running a business, all important things to consider. There is an evolution here, right, from you guys' journey, from being full-time W-2 to now running your passion projects into a business now. If the listeners are considering, like they may be at W-2, they're not sure if this is a good fit for them, not sure what's the next step, maybe walk me through what step-by-step you would suggest the audience do so that they can maybe figure out what might be the next thing that can help them find their purpose, find their passion, and find that next step.
So Ikigai is definitely one that we live and breathe by, and it's following that concept. For us, a lot of finding the purpose, you can find your purpose from the pain that you experienced in the past. And that was the case for both of us. We both have family members affected by mental health, and we constantly asked ourselves, how can we turn this pain into purpose? And that was a big inspiration for us to move in this direction. So for us, it's almost like taking a real honest audit of your life and asking yourselves, what felt the most painful, like the most painful experiences? But at the same time, if you flip the script and you ask yourselves, what were the most awesome, most amazing moments that I've had in my life? You could start to paint a picture on taking that and creating a vision of what you want to live into. For me, as an example, having lost my dad at 13 years old and constantly looking for mentors and coaches and bosses, very helpful and taking their advice and suggestions and moving forward. But what I found out about myself was that I constantly ended up becoming a people pleaser and trying to please someone in order to receive praise. So a big part of my journey was actually to learn how to love myself. And when I start to learn to love myself, then I could start to love others much more easier, right? And that's a big part of the human capital we talked about in running the retreat too. Like knowing that we need to first do the work on ourselves before we can start to give. right? And most of our lives, you might have experienced this yourself too, is just the culture of feeling like you're always having to give first without first looking within and asking yourself, like, how can I help myself first? It's that finding that balance.
Wow. I love what you said about figure out what your pains are, and everybody has them. That pain turning into purpose, that was super crucial. We all carry with us so much weight from upbringing, from culture, from a lot that we're maybe not even aware of, that is driving our decision, driving our actions. And in order for us to show up for others, right? So at every podcast, we love to ask a question to our guests that the previous guest has left. And this is kind of randomized. So your question is, at this point, everybody has their big life. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things that you guys can devote your energy to. How do you guys decide what to do, what not to do, and where do you spend your precious energy? $1 million question. I'm like, that's a hard one.
That is really challenging. Do you have an answer?
You can go first.
Okay. I think that is actually the question that I'm asking myself in this moment. Things are shifting for me personally because my baby is getting older to a point where she's starting to really require a lot of interaction, a lot of our attention. Whereas before she was kind of just a nugget and she was just sleeping and eating diapers, like there wasn't too much interaction. And so as she's starting to get older and I see the need for her to spend more time with friends and family, my priorities have certainly shifted. And that also means that my business priorities are shifting with it. My time and energy shift with it as well. So I'm starting to value family more so than my business endeavors in this season of life. I don't think it will always be this way, but I think we're kind of reaching because I'm just seeing how important this time is with family for my baby to grow up with her friends and family. Our parents are aging. So just seeing that, realizing that time is priceless. Once the time is gone, we won't have it anymore. Realizing that we need to refocus our business so that we can step away more. We can spend more time with family, spend more time with our children. I would say energetically, that's what I want to focus more of my energy on. What that means is hiring more people to really take our place, making sure that our team members have the systems, they are trained properly to know how to handle clients, how to communicate with them, starting to focus more on the systems, actually, really trying to smoothen out our systems so that we can spend more time with them.
I love that. I can say a lot about that, but I want to hear Minhdoan answers first.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same with our baby getting older, and a lot more attention is required on her part. At the same time, we love to bring that attention to her. So over the last year, we have built a lot of systems. There was a lot of trial and error, a lot of testing things out, figuring out what's working, what's not. It was optimized to a certain extent after a year of iteration. And now it's almost like considering the time that we want to spend with our baby more often. To your point, you mentioned about the human capital, right? So there's a bunch of systems that can be developed that's tech related, back end, back office type work. But how do we continue to optimize it while we can still provide the human capital and optimize our time with our baby? I think the challenge right now is figuring that part out, and we don't know the answer yet right now. It's really it's still just figuring it out day by day. Literally just a couple of days ago, since I'm the morning person, Michelle is the night owl. We were like, all right, she's gonna have one nap, and I'll take the morning half, and then after the nap, she takes the second shift. And literally on day one, when we tried this, we were like, all right, this is not gonna work because of all the different commitments. So we're still kind of, winging it and figuring it out. But yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I think we both have a very vivid vision, but we're also realizing that integrating family into that vision becomes even more important.
Love that. What I heard, the process that you guys work through is first, You guys have a core value. That core value is family, right? I heard kids, parents, that the parent piece was how you guys walked down this path of starting a wellness retreat in the first place. So that sounds like that's always been your core. Family has always been first for you guys. So now you've then figured out how the business fit into your desire, into your life, into your family. And I love also what you said about experimenting. That's a lot of what business and I'm guessing parenting is probably about. Figuring out as you go, creating the space to experiment things, to say like, nope, that was not it, let's try again. And then just try it on something else the next day. The other thing that I want to point to, that I love how you said Michelle is the visionary and Minhdoan, you're the integrator. But from what I've heard from conversation for you guys today, I hear both. So I feel like you guys have been like such a wonderful influence on one another. I really love how you guys incorporate all of that into one another, and now you guys are almost functioning as one with all that piece. Awesome. With that, I just want to give a quick plug. At every episode, we want to give a shout out to the charity that the speakers want to support. In this case, is this aerial recovery. Do you guys want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'll throw in my 2 cents. So aerial recovery, they focus on a couple things. Repurposing veterans, big one with that because a lot of veterans experience PTSD. And the second thing is disaster relief. So there's a lot of places around the world that experience natural disasters. And aerial recovery prides themselves on very quick action to be able to deploy a very intimate team to help find casualties, to clear the roads, to repair homes. And third is anti-human trafficking. What's very sad is that it's usually in these countries that experience disaster relief. They're the ones that also experience human trafficking immediately right after because of the exploitation of it in these areas. So Aerial Recovery Group focuses a lot on fighting that. We've gone to some training with them over in Tennessee. My brother's gone through a second stage of training as well on that. It's been very impactful. And that is where we focus a lot of our donation and effort.
Awesome. I love that. I will put all the information in the show notes. If the listeners, if this add value to you in any ways, feel free to go donate to Aerial Recovery. Would really help support them, and really a great way to thank Minhdoan and Michelle for spending all the time sharing with us their knowledge, their experience. With that, I would love for our audience to hear more about other exciting projects that you guys are working on. Feel free to share with them, and also how they can get in touch with you and hear more about what you're up to.
I'll start first. So an exciting project that I am working on right now is Contagious Healer. So that's my new Instagram account. It focuses on an intimate group of men and helping them really understand what masculine energy is and how you can bring that into your own life so that you can learn to love yourself more, and also to be able to bring that presence and that love and that energy to your loved ones around you. We just completed our first beta for the first 8 weeks with 6 men, and it was a very transformational, amazing experience, and gotten a lot of great feedback on it. So we're looking to continue that.
Awesome. And Michelle, what you got up to?
Thank you for asking. So the Lotus Rising is a global brand that we're trying to really expand by combining wellness and real estate. So those are kind of the two worlds that we're trying to merge together. The first step of that plan was the Lotus Rising retreat space in Hawaii, where we hold these wellness retreats. The second step is to really expand wellness into all of our other real estate endeavors. So that means injecting wellness into our Airbnbs, into our multifamily properties, really trying to add that component of mental health and well-being in all of the types of businesses that we extend to. Aside from that, I've gotten a lot of requests from individuals who want to learn how to open up wellness retreats, build purpose-driven businesses focused on wellness. I am also offering a cohort of coaching. I'm actually starting in just a few weeks with my second cohort. And for me, it's actually women that I'm supporting. Basically, a lot of women feel called to do similar work, and I really want to support them in leaving their W-2 to build a purpose-driven business, focus on something that they feel very passionate about, ideally something around wellness and mental health.
Awesome. Wow. I love that. And I love that you guys are giving back, sharing your knowledge, sharing all those precious lessons you've learned along the way, helping other people heal themselves, create that purpose driven business. Thank you so much for being on the show. All Michelle and Minhdoan's contact information will be in the show notes. And feel free to check them out on Instagram, follow them, and really hear about all these exciting things that they're doing. With that, I will see everybody next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.